Hello, it's Dr. Darnise. Welcome back. This is Hoodoo Heritage Month, and so I'm doing this little mini series here with my hoodoo theme, with my hoodoo T-shirt. If you didn't catch the first one in the series, go back and watch that one too. Anyway, today I want to tell you about a story. It's my hoodoo story here in the Low Country. I'm in Savannah, Georgia now. Y'all know I moved from California because the ancestors were calling me, but that's a whole other story. So anyway, and my birthday was end of September, and I was in the metaphysical store like I tend to be. And a woman, what am I doing in the bookstore? I'm looking at books, I'm looking at crystals, I'm looking at herbs like I do. And so another black woman came next to me, and I guess she saw the things that I was looking at. And she said, "Do you know how to do any of this stuff?" And I said, "Well, what stuff?" And she said, "Well, I guess I need to bind somebody." I was like, what? Okay, if you don't know what this is, hoodoo being this, conjuring practice, root work practice, if you don't really know this, then the last thing you need to be doing is coming out of your mouth like, how do I bind somebody? Because you have no idea the ramifications of that, right? So I was like, well, what are you talking about? So this is amazing to me. Okay, so somebody told her because she was having problems with her man. I guess her man was not giving her enough attention the way she wanted. He wasn't, I guess he was in and out, and she wanted him to be more in. And she wanted him to, she said she wanted him to think about her all the time. That she wanted to stay on his mind and that, she wanted him to come over more. Okay, so now people have their reasons for going to hoodoo and going to the conjure doctor, right? We talked about that extensively. This is a practice for healing, for protection, for love work. Yes, all kind of things. Okay, so somebody told her, she said she had a reading from somebody, like a tarot reading, I guess, and she was talking about her relationship situation, and the reader told her to bind this man to her. Now, here's why you don't listen to everybody, and here's why you don't just do things willy-nilly. You don't just see something on the internet, you don't see something casually and say, oh, I'm going to do that. You don't want to bind anybody in a relationship. It breaks the free will, for one thing, of the other person. But, and I'm trying to get this out, y'all. What I tell her? So I said to her, you don't want to do that. Says, I don't know you, and clearly you're having a relationship issue, and I'm willing to talk to you about some other things, but you don't want to do that. I said, because one thing about binding that might seem like an option, what you're really going to bind to you is this man acting the way he always acts. Like people casually think that if you bind somebody to you in a love spell, that they're going to suddenly become this extremely loving person who you've always wanted. They're going to become, your Prince Charming or your, dream girl. They're not. The spell is not for that. The spell is to connect them to you. So if they were acting some kind of a way you don't like before, they're still going to be acting that kind of a way. Now they're all upon you. And how many of us know the drama and chaos that can happen in your life when you're with somebody who brings drama and chaos? So you don't want to bind that person because now they're bound. They're in your house. You can't get rid of them. They're creating chaos in your life, but you did a binding ritual. So I said, since you don't want to do that, she's like, well, I said, maybe you want a different kind of love spell. Maybe you just want a red love candle, an attraction candle. Maybe you want to do that, but stand down from the binding. If anybody tells you to do that, first off, like the person who told her, they don't even know her. So they sent her up kind of on a wild goose chase. She's running around this metaphysical store, like trying to figure out what does that mean and what do I do, which means she's bound to get herself in trouble. Either nothing is going to happen and she's going to be mad and hurt, or some other stuff is going to happen that she really was not anticipating and ready for, and she's still unhappy, right? Because in the process of doing that work, that hoodoo work, you are calling upon uh, the gods, the ancestors to help you. African based, right? It's an African worldview. You're calling upon help. That means they're showing up, but you don't know what to do. You don't really know what you're doing. So think about the kind of drama and chaos can come into your world when you don't know what you're doing and you're dabbling, you're messing in something. Okay, so you might be saying, what else happened? What else happened? Okay, so in the store, and I'm telling her, I'm trying to talk her down off that ledge and just talk to her about a little bit of attraction and candle work. Get yourself a red candle and let's build up and see what happens each day, each week with this man. And I wasn't trying to sign up to be her nothing. Because y'all, I have so many clients in various ways. So if you want a consultation with me, you can put in the comments you would like a consultation, but please know I don't just readily walk around like, hey, I'm here for that. Because I feel a sense of responsibility. And when I don't really know people, I don't have a relationship with them, I don't know their lives, then it would be irresponsible of me to just be like, oh, you just need to do this and that. Not for something that's really serious, like a love thing and where she was coming from emotionally and psychologically. So I'm trying to give her some alternatives, giving her some alternatives. We're now walking around the store, and this store, granted, didn't have a whole lot of herbs that were particularly helpful because it's a commercial kind of a store. I mean, it really is not like, you know, so it wasn't really us. Let me put it that way. But okay, so then the next thing that happened is so I'm talking to her, and there's another Black woman in the store who overhears this conversation. Because I keep asking the woman, what exactly do you want to have happen? What exactly do you want? And she had a hard time even getting, I just want him to pay more attention to me. I just want him to think about me more. I said, I'm sure that's not all you want. Anyway, this other woman hears. So she kind of chimes in the conversation and she's like, yeah, sis, what exactly do you want? So I can hear in her accent. I said, are you from New Orleans? Because, people from New Orleans got a certain way of talking shit. So she said, yeah, I'm from New Orleans. And I was like, oh. And so this woman, she's like, oh, well, you know some voodoo then. And then I'm like, so this woman says, well, yeah. She's like, people always say that because I'm from New Orleans. And she's like, well, yes. And so she started talking to the woman too. And she was essentially telling her similar to what I was telling her. It's like, you don't want to do no binding. Don't do that. Certainly not first. Not out right out the bat. No. So she was telling her what kind of candles and telling her some candle stuff to do. And then she said, because some of the stuff she was telling the woman to do, she's like, well, let's look and see, do they have it? And I was like, they don't have it here. And so she's like, yeah, since I moved to Georgia, I can't find some of the herbs I need. Because when I'm in Louisiana, I can more easily find my stuff. I have contact with people who grow their own different kinds of herbs and whatever. Now I'm in Georgia, I don't find the stuff that I know. Now, in part one of this series that I did, if you watch that video, I talked about how, um, you know, African people being brought here, we worked with what we have. Remember, I used that word syncretism, which means to mix together religion and culture and the environment where you are. The environment makes a difference when you're doing something like root work because you need to use the herbs and plants that grow in your region. So this is the low country, right? South Carolina, Georgia, North Florida. This is called the low country, and it has certain kinds of plant life. And so if you were an enslaved person on these shores, you got to know certain plants, right? Well, if you're in Louisiana, there's some additional different kinds of plants that you would also get to work with. So this just goes to show like how adaptable hoodoo is. You work with what you have, right? So people doing the videos and whatever, they're showing you a whole lot of fancy stuff. Well, that's fine. But really, our people worked with what they had at hand. And it wasn't fancy and it wasn't cute, right? Now it's in little bottles and you can buy things and whatnot. So anyway, my point being that this woman from New Orleans was really like, I don't find what I need here in Georgia. And I was like, because that just shows the regional, the difference in regions and what you'd have to know if you were, a black person in Georgia or, well, Louisiana or Texas. The environment changes, especially if you as you start going west, because now the whole environment changes. You're not in this humid, wet climate, right? As you go west, it starts getting drier, so the plant life changes. Anyway, okay, y'all get back to the story. So the story. So the woman is telling her, all these different things, and she's naming all kinds of like herbs and stuff. And so the woman is like, well, where can I get it? Where can I get it? Because I don't see it. And the woman from New Orleans, she's like, well, I don't know where you're going to get it in Georgia. She said, but I'm about to go back to New Orleans. She's like, I go back and forth. And I'm about to go back to my suppliers and bring the stuff I need for what I do. So now the woman is following this other woman around the store, like, well, I need you to bring me this, or I need you to help me with. And so I just said, well, I'm going to just let them be because this woman now, see, this is what happens when this is why I say you have to be responsible. When you recognize that somebody is seeking you out for help and they're kind of in a, I don't know, very emotional state or very vulnerable state, it's easy to take advantage of those kind of people. It's easy to get them to buy a whole bunch of stuff. Easy to send them, down a whole bunch of different paths. So I just said, well, I'm going to step out of it and let her just do whatever they want to do together. So the woman ended up saying, well, I have some stuff in my car right now. If you want to follow me out to my car, I'll just give you some stuff I have in my trunk. So of course she just ran on after her. And I was really just looking at it like, this is how we can be when we feel kind of desperate in any kind of circumstance, especially things that have to do with love or money. People feel desperate and vulnerable. They're really vulnerable. So, anyway, that's my hoodoo story because I was like, what? She literally just walked up to me while I was just standing there, basically looking at some books. Do you know how to do this? And I said, do I have a sign on my forehead that says hoodoo? I wasn't even wearing this shirt. Let me say, I was not even wearing this shirt. Because it was well, anyway, whole other story. But anyway, I just want to share my hoodoo story. Let me know in the comments what you think, or what your opinions of that might be, and the kind of responsibility you feel. Right? You see somebody who's in need, you don't just run over them. Right? The person who did her reading, who told her to just bind somebody, they were irresponsible with that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. And like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And support the channel on Patreon. Let me know if you made it all the way to the end. You're my long haul team. And I appreciate y'all. Okay, bye.